guys, we have this question and we have more than two forces, all right, acting at this point. And we're asked to find the resultant and the angle it makes to the horizontal. Now, in my last video, I explained how to resolve more than two forces acting at a point. Now, let me give a reminder of what I said in the last video. Now, let's say you have a force, all right? You have a force F, all right? A force F, inclined at an angle theta to the horizontal, all right? Now, the vertical component of this force is going to be F sine theta. But the horizontal component of this force is going to be F cos theta because the angle is inclined to the horizontal. But if we have another case whereby this same force, all right, is inclined at an angle theta to the vertical, all right. Do not forget this is your y-axis and this is your x-axis. This is your y-axis and this is your x-axis, all right. So this force is now inclined to your vertical. In this case, your vertical component is going to be what? F cos theta. And then your horizontal component is going to be F sine theta. All right? So now, with that knowledge, let's come back here. All right? Let's come back here. Now, we're going to resolve for our horizontal components first. All right? We're going to resolve for our horizontal components first. Now, let's see how we can easily and very fast do that. All right? Now, this is your 8 Newton. Let's start with this 8 Newton. Or let's start with the 10 Newton. Now, this is the 10 Newton, right? Now, do not forget, we are resolving for our horizontal component in this case. And this 10 Newton is inclined directly on your vertical axis or your y-axis. Now, it's not going to be relevant because it's directly inclined on your vertical axis. So let's go to the next force. The next force is 8 Newton. All right? Now, it's inclined at an angle 50 degrees to the vertical. And it is also on the positive side of your x-axis. Do not forget that this is your positive side of your x-axis, this is your negative side of your x-axis, the positive side of your y-axis, and the negative side of your y-axis. All right? So now, this 8 Newton force is inclined at an angle 50 degrees to your vertical. So this is going to be what? 8, what in this case is going to be sine because it is inclined to the vertical. 8 sine 50 degrees. Now let's move to the next force. 7 Newton. It is directly inclined on the x-axis and is also on the positive side of the x-axis and it's also going to be relevant because we are doing for our horizontal component. So this is going to be what? Plus 7. Now the next one is our 11 Newton. It is inclined at an angle of 60 degrees to the vertical. All right? And it's also on the positive side of your x-axis. So this is going to be what? Plus what? 11 sine 60 degrees. All right? Now, let's move to the next one. The next one is the 6 Newton force. This is directly inclined on your vertical axis. All right? And you are resolving for your horizontal component. So it's not going to be relevant. Now, let's move to the next force. The next force is your 4 Newton force. All right? Now, this 4 Newton force is inclined directly to your horizontal at an angle 60 degrees. All right? And it is on the negative side of your x-axis. So it's going to be minus 4 what? Minus 4 cos 60. So this is going to be minus 4 cos 60 degrees. Now, the next force is our 2 Newton force. And it's directly inclined on the horizontal axis. That's on your x-axis. And it's also on the negative side. So this is going to be simply minus 2. There is no angle allocated to it because it's directly on the x-axis. Now the next one is your 16 Newton force. Now the 16 Newton force is inclined at an angle 40 degrees to the vertical. 40 degrees to the vertical. And it is also on the negative side of your x. So of course it's going to be minus what? 16 sine 40 degrees. Minus 16 sine 40 degrees. Alright? Now, let's resolve for our vertical component. Alright? For our vertical component. So let's resolve for our vertical component. Now, our vertical component, let's start with the 10 Newton force. This is directly inclined on the vertical axis and is also on the positive side. So this is simply going to be what? 10. Alright? Now, the next force is your 8 Newton force. Now, this 8 Newton force is inclined at an angle 50 degrees what? To the vertical. And it's also on the positive side. So this is going to be what? Plus 8 what? Cos 50 degree, because it's inclined to the vertical. Now the next force is your 7 Newton force. This is directly inclined on the x-axis. All right. So it's not going to be relevant in this case because we are considering our vertical component. Now let's move to the next force. This is 11 Newton force, inclined at an angle 60 degree to your vertical. All right. So in this case, it's going to be what? Negative, because it's on the negative side of our y-axis. All right. So it's going to be minus what? Minus 11 what? Minus 11 cos 60 degree. Now, the next one is our 6 Newton force, which is directly on the y-axis and is also on the negative side. So this is going to be what? Minus 6. Now, the next one is our 4 Newton force, inclined at an angle 60 degree to the horizontal. So that's going to be sine. All right, and it's also on the negative side. So this is going to be minus 4 sine 60 degree. Now, the next one is our 2 Newton force, which is directly on the x-axis. It's not going to be relevant, all right, because we are doing for our vertical component. Now, the next one is finally our 16 Newton force, which is inclined at an angle 40 degree to the vertical, all right, which is also on the positive side of your y-axis. So this is going to be what? Plus what? 16 cos 40 degree. So this is going to be what, and this is going to be what? Let's press that in our calculator. What's it going to give us? So this is going to give us, for our horizontal component, all right, which is also our x component, we are going to have 8.37 Newton. And for our horizontal vertical component, which is also our y component, we are going to have 12.43 Newton. All right, that's what we're going to have. All right, so now let's get our resultant. And also the angle of inclination to the horizontal. So now this has been resolved into these two forces. So this is our resultant, all right, and this is the angle of inclination to the horizontal. Now this is our vertical component, right? This is our horizontal component. This is also our y-axis and x-axis. So this is what? 12.43 Newton, and this is what? 8.37 Newton. So our resultant is simply going to be what? Square root of what? X squared plus y squared, and then our angle of inclination to the horizontal is going to be what? Tan inverse of what? Our y component of our x component. So theta is going to be equal to, now our vertical component is what? Tan inverse of what? 12.43 over 8.37. all right, now our resultant here is going to be equal to square root of what? We have 8.37 squared plus 12.43 squared. So our resultant is going to be equal to 14.99 Newton, which is approximately 15 Newton. All right, and let's check for our angle. Our angle is going to be 56.04 degree. All right, so this is going to be our resultant and the angle it makes with the horizontal. Make sure you like this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. Come on, subscribe already, and also hit the notification button so that when I upload more videos like this, you get notified. And do not forget, Jesus loves you.